Welcome to Carting Truth Podcast, a father-daughter duo focusing on sharing revelations through conversations with the Lord. Let's get started with today's episode. Welcome to Carting Truth Podcast. I'm Lindsay, and I'm back with my dad, Shane. He's doing much better. Thank you all for the prayers. We've actually talked about before now releasing his near-death experience again. It was our first episode about a year and a half ago, and we've came so far in our equipment since then. We wanted that episode to be redone to do justice to the incredible experience that it was. He's also going to share some other supernatural experiences that he's had. So you're in for a treat today.
Yeah, Lindsay, I'm back. It's been a rough road I've had to go through. I've lost close to 26 pounds. Had a UTI that was vicious.
Yeah.
Some of the most painful things I ever went through in my life. But God allows us to do things for reasons. And guys, I sure do appreciate your prayers. I could feel every one of them. This has been a long bout with this. It came out of left field and it hit hard.
Yes.
Thank God I got over it.
You got some pretty good news. Their prayers were very effective. Like, you were thinking it could be this, and this, which would be,
Yeah, I thought I might have to have. And actually, while I was there, the Lord spoke to me, told me I wouldn't have to have surgery. So I felt good about that. But when it first happened, I thought I was going to have surgery. But I've just got to take some medicine. Hopefully, it'll all straighten out here after a while. But thank you guys once again for the prayers. Did have a supernatural experience while I was at home.
Okay, well, you didn't tell me that before today.
Yeah, we talked about it a little bit. We seen Mom in the trees. You remember that? I talked about that. So I'm never at home during the day because I'm at work. But since I had this UTI, I was at home. And I was in the bathroom looking out one of the windows, and across the field our neighbor lives. And I looked up above them, and my mother appeared in the trees.
Oh, yeah.
And the leaves were shaping her face, almost a quartering two shot of her.
Mm-hmm.
And I hollered out to my wife. I said, Mom's in the trees. She said, what are you talking about? I said, she's appeared in the trees over there. And so I went out to the front porch and took a picture.
Throw that up there. I'm going to throw that up there.
I'll throw up y'all, either you will see it or you won't. But if you see it, you can't unsee it.
You can't unsee it. Once you showed me that, at first I was really confused. And then when I saw her, and then I saw
Papaw. She was hugging Papaw.
Who already went to be with the Lord last July. And if you haven't, we've talked about Mamaw, your mom, a couple of different times, but she has really, really bad onset dementia. She is in a home for dementia patients. She hasn't known any of us in several years. I mean, it's been going on. She probably started slipping about 9-ish years ago, and it's just progressed to where it's incredibly sad. And we want her to go home and be with the Lord and be with Papaw and be completely healed. Because she won't know us on this side of that unless, she gets radically healed. But yeah, she doesn't even know about Papaw.
Yeah, she's 88, but this picture is when she looks like she's about 30 in this. She'd appeared in the trees. I'll put it up there. You guys will either see it or you won't. Mm-hmm. Eventually, I'm going to get my niece, which has seen the picture, and she's seen her immediately, and she's a good artist. So she's going to draw that, and we'll present later on a picture of what she draws. But we'll put the picture up and let you all gaze at it and see what you think.
That's incredible.
We see it, and we've sat around and cried because we really feel like it's God's telling us that
He's going to take her home.
He's going to take her home, and we got to see the reunion captured in the leaves.
Yes, because she doesn't know Papaw has passed at this point. She asked about him a couple of times, maybe since.
Yeah,
but then she's completely gone.
She knew, but she can't remember anything over 4 or 5 minutes. So.
Yeah, so that'll be
anyway.
Reunion. We'll be happy for her because right now she's just a shell of herself. She's not even the same person. So when she's in heaven and healed and with her loved ones there, then when we get there too, she will know us again. So that will be so awesome.
What a God we got. I mean, just think about all the things. I would have not been there during that time had I not been sick. And what's the odds of that being, I mean, her profile.
Exactly her. Like,
you can tell it's her. When you see it, you can tell it's her.
Just like her. I never thought I could see anybody in the trees that detailed.
And showed it to you, and you was like, what? Yeah. And you go, oh, I see her.
I didn't even, when you said we had a supernatural experience, I didn't even think of that. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that was totally supernatural, because that was the Lord's way of maybe telling you that she's
going home.
He's going home, and the reunion with Papa with her arms wrapped around his neck.
She's so smiling. You can see her smiling too. And the leaves are creating this image.
I mean, only God could do that. Yeah. That's just, yeah.
But I thought that was quite exceptional to be able to see like that. Okay, so you want to hear the near-death experience?
Yeah, so we did this episode, our first episode, we felt led to share the near-death experience, because I feel like that near-death experience through a couple of different instances is what led to this podcast. That is where, an experience right before your near-death experience, which you're going to talk about, is what imparted your gifting to you. And then how kind of you communicate with the Lord. Like I said, he took you to heaven so you would have, or was taking you to heaven so you would have a testimony. And then, a platform to start witnessing to people, which ultimately ended in him giving you lots of downloads about the scripture to share with people, and ultimately put us here. So that's where everything started. It was in the early 80s, I guess. I wasn't even born yet, but that is kind of what catapulted your ministry. Is that near-death experience and those experiences before where you saw Jesus. And
do the vision before. This is when I was 19. I got saved, and I was at a local revival, which was being held at the church I went to, which was a Methodist church. And the Spirit of the Lord called me to the front, and there was nobody up there. The pastor had just got through giving the message. There was nobody at the altar, and got huge conviction beating up in my throat kind of thing.
Oh, I've had that before. Yep.
Come to the front, and I was like, Lord, I'm saved. What am I coming to the front for? He said, just do what I tell you. And so basically I got up and went up to the front. Of course, when I did that, everybody else come out of the ranks and went piling up to the front to pray too.
So you thought that's why he had you do that?
Well, I think that was kind of the reason that it started, but that ain't the reason that he did it.
Yes.
So I went up to the front. I knelt down to the left side of the altar, and I went into a trance. And I was hearing, back in the old days when you prayed out loud, and everybody prayed, and it was loud. Mm-hmm. Everybody all the way down both sides of the altar were praying out loud.
Yes.
And then all of a sudden it went deathly quiet. And I went into a trance. And I went into this room, and I seen this gold dust sprinkling down. Most beautiful gold dust I ever seen in my life, and it was just sprinkling down, and it formed a silhouette of the back of Jesus looking away from me. He wasn't looking at me, which was strange to me, but he was looking away. He had the most perfect hair. I don't know why, but his hair is like somebody had put each strand in place. Not like you combed it. It's like each strand was placed perfectly. He was looking away from him, and there was this golden aurora coming out of him. Beautiful golden light, which came from the flakes of gold that were coming down. And he was looking the other way, and he started pivoting. He started turning. And turned right around and looked at me. When he turned around and looked at me, I got the surprise of my life. Jesus is not white.
Everybody says that, and if you're familiar with near-death experiences, they all say he's got dark skin. Like he is a Jew. Like he is your typical Jew. It's just not these white, blondish, brown Jesuses you see in pictures.
No, his hair was a dull. It was kind of a brownish auburn. It had an auburn cast to it. I don't know why. Maybe because he's the son of David, and David was. But he had auburn cast to his hair. But it was brown. But it had this auburn sheen about it. I don't know how to explain it. But he turned around, and he wasn't African American.
He wasn't
Indian. but somewhere between an Indian and a white person. His skin had this olive gold looking sheen about it. Beautiful. I mean, perfectly tanned, beautiful. And I was kind of surprised because all the pictures we seen, even some of them had a little bit of blonde highlights in him. Most of them are brown headed, but he had a little bit of blonde highlights.
And that doesn't look like him at all.
And he had brown eyes in a lot of the pictures that I seen, but he didn't have brown eyes. That threw me. He had this olive golden skin, but he had the most turquoise. I don't know if that's a word or not. I'm making up. I'm like Bush. It was turquoise eye color. It was heavy and blue with that pastel green mix. Oh, just absolutely unbelievable to look at. In fact, that's what once I fixed on his eyes, I couldn't quit looking at his eyes. Of course, he had the bronzy olive colored skin, and this yellow light was coming out of him, and then his eyes were just like looking into the ocean, but they weren't that dark purple blue. They weren't sky blue. They were somewhere in between it. Mm-hmm. And then it had this green mixed in with it. Just absolutely gorgeous eyes. And he had this aurora coming off of him, and he looked at me in the eye, and I looked at him in the eye, and then he looked at my chest. And when he did, I felt him watching my life till I died. I don't know how else to tell it. He was probing my life, and I knew it.
Like he was doing a life review of you before it happened.
He was doing a preview. Not a life review, but a preview. He's seen everything that I would ever do and ever would be and ever shall be. He's seen it all. And I knew he was seeing it. And he had eternity with him. He had this feeling of he was bigger than everything feeling. His reach went farther than we can ever imagine. And then he looked me back in the eye and he just nodded his head. Now, he didn't smile or nothing. He just had this somber look on his face. A lot of people talk about him smiling and all that stuff, but he wasn't smiling. He was down to business.
Right.
And he looked me back in the eye and he nodded his head like that. And I knew that, and it's helped me because all this dumb stuff I've done in life, you think, okay, how much is God going to take?
Yeah, I know.
I know his grace reaches way deep, and I know, but you still got to have faith for the grace to get to you. And I was like, after I've done some really dumb stuff in life, I thought he already seen this, and he still approved of me, which was it was a comforting thing.
Wow.
But when he nodded his head, this power went out, and it was so strong that it caused my abdominal muscles just to cramp. It just like somebody belted you in the breadbasket. And I groaned like that. And when I did, I came out of it. And there was people praying all over the place. And I got up and the vision was over with. But I seen him. He was always so beautiful. I could just sit there and stare at him forever.
Did you tell it? Did you like me? Like, did you go to anybody that was at church and be like, I just saw Jesus. I just met Jesus.
No.
A lot of people don't do that though. A lot of people keep it real personal. And I'm just like, I don't understand.
Tell everybody I seen it was too miraculous. You didn't, you can't believe it. They'd believe you, Mm-hmm. And some people are probably having trouble right now, but I'm telling you, I saw it. And after that, I felt like that's when the gifting was issued, but not instigated yet or not fired up yet.
Like he imparted that.
He imparted it.
You've grown because even though you're in this like vision trance, you felt it when he nodded at you. Something happened.
He gave it to me, but he didn't prime it.
Right. Okay.
So about 2 years later, it was 1986. So it wasn't early 80s. It was after
a little bit before my time. Yep.
You're an 88 girl.
I'm an 88 girl.
I was 21. And me and your mother had been married less than a year. And I had built a house for her. And we were in that house. And we were asleep. And we went to sleeping somewhere before 3 o'clock in the morning, someone grabbed my ankles. And it startled me because they were big hands. They grabbed my ankles and took off with me. They just grabbed hold of my ankles and took off.
Wow.
And I went straight up through the roof of the house at this incredible rate of speed. Feet first. And then I went up and I flipped. And when I flipped, I was up over top of the house.
Wow.
Overlooking Mossheim. You know, like I said, it was before 3 o'clock in the morning. So, you know, there were street lights and, you know, I don't remember seeing any cars. But I was up and over to my right, there was this being, and I knew it. And, you know, we got 5 senses.
Right.
There we got more.
I'm excited about that because one cannot imagine more senses.
Well, it's your spiritual ability to reach out is enhanced because you're not in your body for it to be contained. So I knew he was there, but I couldn't see him. I turned to look, and I thought, I know you're there. And so he said, you just died. It was a male-sounding voice. It was a matter of fact, almost had a military feel about it. Mm-hmm. And then he said, prepare to meet Jesus Christ the Lord. And with that, straight in front of me was Viking Mountain. And behind it come out this light, this brilliant, explosive light. And it looked like silk. It was light, but it had folds like a curtain would have. I don't know how else to say it. Its rays looked like curtain folds. And I was looking at it, and I was mesmerized because I had never seen anything. It was not of this world. And so I was in the world between the physical and the spiritual, which I call the soul realm.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I believe it was in the soul realm. Mm-hmm. I don't remember seeing myself at all, but it was fully me, and I was there.
What was your thoughts? Like, were you like, oh my gosh, I died? Or were you just like fascinated with like what you were seeing and feeling?
The first emotion I had was that rush when I was traveling up. There's no way to describe it. I was going so fast that there's no way to describe it. I couldn't have been in a body would have pulled skin and bone off of me. I was going that fast. I mean, it was just a blink and I was 2,000 feet in the air. I mean, just a blink. That was the other thing that happened. Time kind of went away. It kind of felt like everything was now. It didn't like there was a past, present, future. Even though when I started traveling, you would think that I felt like I just had 5 seconds in the past, right? Mm-hmm. And then that feeling was gone. It was like everything's now. It's like you're traveling in the medium of now. I don't know how else to say it.
Yeah, there's things that people can't explain about that.
Yeah, everything was now.
No, eternity doesn't have time.
There wasn't no past, present, and future. It was just now. And the other thing is when I looked across to where Viking Mountain was, which was about 30 miles away, but I'm 2,000 feet in the air. There was no distance. Distance didn't matter. I mean, it didn't matter. And how I knew it didn't matter is because as I started traveling before I went across Andrew Johnson Highway, Jesus spoke out of that light that was 30 miles away, and it was as if he was right in front of me. Now, he was huge. Let me tell you, he was huge. Remember I told you he had all eternity with him when I had the first vision?
Right.
That was, again, there. But this time he was big. He was expanding the whole known universe. I mean, he's that big. You had this feeling that he was controlling everything, that he was
everything.
That when he said, I am, he was everything. And he said to this being that was with me said, he didn't talk to me, he talked to him.
Your guardian angel had to be.
Yeah. He said, take him back, it's not his time. And this is after I floated for a while. And I was floating, and I had no sense of gravity, which was another weird feeling. I don't know how to explain that. There was no pull. There was not an ache, not a pain, not a care in the world. When he told me I just died, I thought, well, that kind of explains how I'm hanging up here in the middle, and I'm not afraid because I wasn't afraid.
You told me like you were like blissful, like everybody's just like, oh, it is what it is, just hanging out.
You are in God, and the peace that passes all understanding is just takes over. You have no cares whatsoever. It's the most wonderful feeling. It's what I miss the most about it. I miss that more than anything else.
You could probably just stayed there forever.
Oh, yeah.
Like just hanging out with your angel.
There was absolutely no care whatsoever. And I wasn't afraid. I knew Christ. I knew I was saved. So I wasn't afraid that, I'm going to judgment, or I didn't have any of that feeling. I was completely at peace. And so when he said it's not his time, take him back, I turned around and I just went a little short space and I'm back. But I'm completely dead. I can't feel nothing. No, nothing. I'm talking nothing. All I have is awareness. I have no feeling. That thing I told you about, being able to feel out farther than you are, when I first come up and I could sense that guy was there.
Yeah.
I had nothing. I was contained in this dead body. And I was sitting there looking at my left hand, and then I felt my chest thump like something punched it, and then just felt the hot, honey sensation of the blood going in every direction. And I laid there a pretty good while before I could even move. It took a while for me to even move. My heart had to beat up several times before. And I remember going through this part of my ear. I remember the blood traveling through my ear, and I thought, man, I was dead.
Yeah.
No, there not to be any blood in my ears. But I felt it all regenerate back, and I got up and ran around the bedroom and woke your mom. I said, I died. The guy said, I died. She said, what? I said, the guy said, I died. I left here. She said, what are you talking about? I said, I can go back to sleep.
She was not happy with the 3 a.m. wake up.
So I went in there, and it was 3:14 on one of them little digital clocks, like, when you cook and you said,
yeah,
one of them old, 1986 stoves.
Yes.
And it was used because we didn't have a lot of money. So I got in the living room and just sat there and just relived it. And I thought, that really happened. I ain't telling nobody this.
Well, and a lot of people, like I said, I've watched so many of these since you told me about this. A lot of people don't share for a long time until the Lord gives them like the thumbs up, like, okay, you can start sharing this, experience, because I know it's like really personal. And then of course you think you're crazy and stuff like that, but you did go to the doctor and confirm why you had passed away.
Yeah. My heart had stopped. I had a heart arrhythmia, and they put me on beta blockers and got it back in the red. I went to Dr. Brad Strange. Maybe I shouldn't say his name, but he's passed away now.
He's in heaven.
I went to him, and medical records will show I went to him, and he gave me beta blockers, and I took them for about a year. And I finally told him, I said, I'd just soon be dead. Let's take these things anymore. He said, well, get off of them and see if. And when I did, my heart stayed in rhythm, and I was fine. I ain't had a problem since.
Oh, so many people get healed when they have these. You know what I mean? Like they leave one way and they come back and stuff just slowly goes away. And it's like, oh, yeah, well, I'm healed on top of that. So
I'm going to tell 2 more supernatural experiences I've never told on this channel, just to make this something new.
Ooh.
All right? It might make some people mad. I don't know. But I'm going to tell you what happened. I was going deer hunting, and it was about 2 months before the season, and I actually told you I was going to get a buck. I said, the Lord's told me I'm going to get a buck. I just want to let you know so I have a witness, right? So I go where I normally go deer hunting. Didn't get a thing. And season is almost over. And I'm like, Lord, you told me I was going to get a buck. And I said, I didn't get one. He said, I must have missed you. So a few days later, I woke up. It was on a Friday morning. Spirit come up on me. He said, you're going hunting today. And I said, I got a lot of work to do, Lord. He said, you're going to go hunting. And he said, here's the things you'll need. And this is the most detailed that God has ever spoke to me. He just broke down all the barriers and spoke to me so clear that I didn't miss anything. Now, sometimes when the Spirit reveals things, and I think I know what he means, but this was one of those times he was so detailed and so strong that I couldn't miss anything he said. He told me exactly what to get. He said, get your gun. He said, get your coveralls. He said, make sure you bring a flashlight, which was very strange because I have a hunting hat that has lights on it. And I thought that was strange. I said, a flashlight. I said, okay, I'll get a flashlight. He said, get your drag bag and your fanny pack and your boots and put them in the truck. And so I did. All right. I went to work. I was working right along. It was about 2:00 in the afternoon. Came back up on me. He said, it's time for you to go hunting. You have to be there by 3:00. And I knew where I was going. He put it in my mind a picture, which I'd never hunted before. But I'd been in that area. And he put in my mind where to go. And he said, you're going to have to leave now. And I said, okay. So I got up. I went to the truck, started the truck, drove up there, parked exactly where I seen it. Looked just exactly like it popped in my mind. Got out on my gear, took off walking up this little logging road. Meandered a few places and got up there. And I said, I don't have a clue. Spirit came up on me. He said, walk to the top of the hill and sit down. I said, okay. So I walked all the way up through there, got to the top of the hill. There was a little meadow out there. It was a pretty rough little meadow. I was looking right down this little road. There was a nice little rock up against a tree, made a perfect little seat. I sat down. I started reading my Bible. I read. So it was starting to get dark. It was still legal shooting time, but it was getting dark. And I said, Lord, am I supposed to kill this animal on the way back to the truck? I had another mile to get back to the truck. He said, no, just sit there a little bit longer. So I sat there just a little bit longer. I would say 5 minutes. Still legal shooting light. But I'm talking 3 or 4 more minutes and it wouldn't have been. This buck jumps right out on the road, right in front of me, broadside. And the Lord said, you can decide to take this deer or I'll give you another one. And I said, this one's fine. So I shot him. He ran over and fell over.
What kind of, was it a big?
It was a 6-pointer. It wasn't nothing really big, but it was a buck. Just like I told you, I was going to kill a buck.
Okay.
So I got up and walked down there to it. And I thought, well, I am going to take all my guns and stuff back to the truck. Give this thing time to, fire. So I went all the way to the truck, took all my stuff, just had my flashlight in my pocket, but I had my hunting lights, had my knife, went back up there to field dress it. Walked back up there to field dress it, got over it, and got ready to field dress it. And I was thinking, why tell me to get the flashlight? And about the time I started flash to it, my hat went dead, completely dead. I had no light. Had I not had that flashlight,
you've been in trouble.
I opened the flashlight, I dressed him out, drug him back to the truck, was driving, going to where the processors was, and he said, no, don't take it to that processor. And he said, take it to this one. Stuck it in my mind. I said, okay. So I took it down to the processor, put it into the processor. That was on Friday.
Okay.
Monday they called me and said it was done.
I think I know where this is going. I think I know this story. Yeah.
So I went down there Monday to get it. Driving back through the little town. And the Lord said, you see that man over there? And I said, yeah. He said, give him some deer meat.
I knew it.
Now, had I went the other way, I'd have never seen the little man.
He was taking care of you and this guy at the same time.
Well, it gets even bigger. So I get out, I go, and I asked the man, I said, do you want deer meat? Well, actually, I drove on. I didn't pay attention to the Lord, and it got stronger and stronger.
So you turned around.
So I turned and went back. I told the Lord, I said, what if he don't like deer meat? So, why are you telling me that if he don't like it?
This is a setup.
He said, I love deer meat. He said, I was telling my wife how much the Lord been blessing us lately with stuff. And I said, okay. So as I'm walking around the truck, I said, how much should I give to him, Lord? He said, give it all to him. He said, you get to keep the horns, but give it all to him. So I kept the horns, and they're on my wall. And every time I see it, I think of the story. I gave him all the deer meat. I said, the Lord told me to give this all to you. And he was just ecstatic. All right. So I was driving back. And I said, Lord, you made me give it all away. The tenderloins, everything.
Oh.
I said, you made me give the whole thing away. I didn't say nothing else. All right. So I went home. And about 3 or 4 days later, my freezer died. And everything in it went bad. And had I kept one bit of that deer meat,
it would all be in vain.
It would all been in vain.
And God doesn't do stuff in vain.
In vain. And he knew that. And I had to buy a new freezer. I mean, it died. It was one of them old ones, and it finally died. And everything in it perished. And so every time I see that little set of antlers on the wall, I remember all these instructions.
And the person
that have some deer meat.
You blessed him. He may have needed that. It sounded like he was really appreciative, and maybe he prayed. You just never know what's on the flip side of that. He might have been praying for the Lord to provide something for him, and then here you come along.
Yeah.
And wow. Yep. I
got to tell you another story happened after this. So what do you think? Okay, God sent me a deer, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I gave it all away. So that was a big sowing. That means I'm going to reap a deer, right? I ain't rep it yet, but I'm thinking I'm going to reap a deer.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't sow without reaping.
Well, it says you reap what you sow.
Yeah, I know.
I mean,
so I'm sitting there counting. That was a big sowing of a deer. All right. So I go back to the same spot. Gonna give God a chance to bring a big boy out there. Because I sowed that other one. This next one should multiply. So I'm sitting there, and it's starting to get a little bit dark, and the Spirit come up on me with an urgency. He said, get back to the truck now. And I said, okay. So I got up, and my mind was, I'm going to say a big old there's going to be a big old bruiser jump in front of me on the way back to the truck.
I feel like I know this story too.
But that wasn't how he said it. He said, get back to the truck now. So I get up and I take off walking around. And I'm walking. And I've never hunted in this woods but that one time. This is the second time I've been in that patch of woods. So I'm walking around there, and I come around the curve, headed back truck, and I look up there, and there's about a 400-pound black bear.
Knew it was the bear story.
Was headed straight to where I was. And had I waited till dark, I'd have met that joker in the dark. And I'm sitting there, and this bear is not scared of me. Most bears will run.
Mm-hmm.
And
this one was hungry.
This dude was a mama too. Let me tell you, he was huge. He was bulk. I say mama. His head was that big. He was huge. And I was like, I would have got hurt. Because when he said, you go to the truck now, it wasn't one of them debatable things.
Mm-hmm.
And I did. And the way the hill came down, he was headed right to where I was hunting. Because what happens, the hill goes up there and this curves around right where I was. And I'd have came down that road about the time he would have crossed it. If I'd have waited till dark. Because he was just sitting there, and he sat there and watched me and watched me and watched me. And I had the awful feeling that he was trying to decide whether to attack or not. And I hollered at him and screamed at him, and he took off up the hill.
But if you would have stayed there, it would have been dark.
I had my rifle, and I could see him,
Mm-hmm.
But had I not left when I did, I would have met him in that road without with just my flashlight. And all he'd had to do is when I walked down through is jumped on the light, you know. And man, it was urgency. He said, leave, go back to the truck now. I mean, it wasn't like, hey, you might need to get back. It's go back to the truck now. I mean, it was that shocking. Of course, I was like, oh man, he's going to,
he's going to give me a big deer.
But
he's just going to save my life instead.
I'll take a picture of the bear. If I can find the picture of the bear, I'll put it up if I can find him.
That's terrifying. Out in the dark, a big bear.
He was a big one. He was big. And I never have encountered a bear. Well, one time in West Virginia, I encountered one, but it was a little bear. This bear was big.
Wow.
So there was a couple supernatural stories. I feel like the Lord saved my neck that time.
Yes. I feel like your whole life has been this. I'm sitting here thinking of all the other times and other things that's happened to you.
He will interact with you. He wants to interact with every one of us. He'll
Even
do that.
Deer hunting. I know it's one of those subjects, that
slay and eat, brother. That's what it says in the Bible. Slay and eat.
He used that to provide for people. And I just saw a near-death experience that I sent to you. I sent it to you, where this she was young at the time. I think she was about my age when she did the interview, but she was in college and she had a near-death experience. Cannot remember what show this was. It's a guy's name, and I can't remember what his name is right now. But anyway, she saw hunters in heaven. Hello. No, they were not killing anything. But she said, I saw...
They'll die there.
Yeah, she said, I saw deer hunters on earth in heaven, and they were hunting these creatures, these orb-type creatures with wings, and taking them to the Father because he needed them. And they were just so joyful, having the time of their lives, capturing these things and taking them to the throne room. And I was like, oh my gosh.
Maybe they'll be deer orbs.
Yeah, I know. I was like, he even cares about the deer hunters and what they love to do on earth just because he's God and he's like that. So I know we're getting short on time, and I wanted to go ahead and ask you things I've asked you before, but I want to ask you in front of our audience today. Why do you think Jesus didn't let you see heaven, and why didn't you think he let you stay? He didn't let you stay.
Well, I can look at you and tell you why he didn't let me stay. You wasn't here. And Chelsea wasn't here. I don't think he let me see it because it says, blessed are those who believe and have not seen.
And you already got to see him.
Yeah, I seen a vision of him. Now, I don't know that vision is his physical representation completely. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Probably the color of his skin and his eyes and all that, but he had a glorified look about him. So what does he look like in the flesh, when he's not got the glory turned up? Mm-hmm. I don't know.
Well, you said he kind of looked like the picture that girl painted.
Yeah, he did. He had
Prince of Peace.
Yeah. He was darker than that, though. But, yeah, he was, yeah.
She literally saw him.
He was more beautiful than that.
You can't capture it.
You can't capture what you can see in the spirit. It was more enhanced. Mm-hmm. But, I don't think he didn't let me actually see him in the mountain because he didn't want my reward diminished.
And you already believed. You had got a secret.
Yeah, he's talked to me so much. I don't have to. We've had such conversations. I don't have that doubt stuff anymore.
And he's visited you, he visited you in 2023 is why this whole podcast came about, because he said you have to tell the people what time it is.
He didn't let me see him then either.
You just saw
No, he was actually missed it out.
Oh, yeah, like an outline.
I seen the profile of him. I could see his nose and stuff, but his face and stuff had this mist over it.
Yeah. That's so amazing. And I feel like a lot of people that see him in visions and have near-death experience and stuff like that, they feel him a lot of times more than they see him. Like, how did you know it was Jesus? You just know.
Oh,
You just know. When you get in the presence of the Lord,
yeah,
even though you didn't see him clear the second time, you knew it was him. You just know.
There is no wonder in the spirit. There's no wonder.
Yeah.
You're getting fed pure knowledge.
Right. That's amazing. We want to see you in heaven.
Just confess your sins, make Jesus the Lord of your life, abide in him, and walk with him, and you will live with him forever.
If you are enjoying the content and would like to support our ministry, you can do so through Venmo or PayPal. Our handle is @CardingTruth, or use our QR code. We want to thank you so much for hanging out with us today. What a treat it is to hear his near-death experience. I could listen to it a million times. And if you don't watch near-death experiences, I encourage you to do so. There are so many on YouTube, and it is such a faith lifter and just life-changing to listen to these testimonies about people meeting Jesus. We want to thank our subscribers. We are so thankful for you. And if you haven't subscribed, we would love if you would like, subscribe, and click that bell for more notifications. We have so much more for you coming on Carding Truth, and we pray that you are blessed.